God bless you, Block 2 Geometry. This is a practice test video to help you as we are looking at our second test coming up tomorrow, February 16th. May God guide us and may His Spirit, the Spirit of excellence, propel us in Jesus' name. All right, let's take a look at this first one here. It says find x in each diagram, given that C is a circumcenter. So, first of all, I want to make a correction here. Good, it corrected itself. So in this one, as we look carefully here, we see that this segment, I'm going to give it a name. Let's say segment AB. It's got another segment which intersects it right here. It's perpendicular to it. It also bisects it. So this segment, let's call it CD. CD is a perpendicular bisector of AB. Therefore, any point on CD, it could be this point or this point or this point, or point C itself, is going to be equidistant from the endpoints of AB. Endpoints of AB are points B and point A. So that means CA would be equal to CB. Therefore, the setup for this would be 5x minus 19 equals 3x minus 7. That's the setup. Right? And now for this kind of thing, we want x's to one side and numbers to the other side, so we subtract 3x from both sides. That gives us 2x minus 19 equals negative 7. And now, since we have the x term on the left of the equal sign, we want to have the number terms on the right, so I add 19. Two x then will be equal to a negative and a positive, so I'm going to subtract, and use the sign of the bigger one, which is positive. And now divide both sides by 2 and get x equals 6. X equals 6 would be for that one. Now here's another one which is somewhat related to this one, because this figure shows a point, let's say point P, which is equidistant from the endpoints of this segment. So if I call this segment Geo, from P to O is the same as from P to G. Therefore, this, let's call it PN, must be a perpendicular bisector. So this has to be perpendicular. And here we have Geo being bisected. So if this is perpendicular, this is going to be 90. This one will also be 90. So we have 5x, which is the angle here, equal to 90. When we divide both sides by 5, you'll get 5 goes into 9 once. 1 times 5 is 5. Subtract. Bring down. 5 goes into 40. 5 times 8. 8 times 5 is 40. So here we'd have x is equal to 18. Over here we had x is equal to 6. Now, here's where we get to a little bit more involved or engaged consideration of the perpendicular bisectors, and that is we're going to look at a triangle GOD, which is the best one we could ever examine, and look at the three perpendicular bisectors. Let's take the perpendicular bisector for GO. Here it is, perpendicular, shown here, and it bisects GO. And we have the perpendicular bisector of segment OD. Here it is, this little dash line, perpendicular, and it bisects OD. Why? Because RO is the same as RD. And finally, the third perpendicular bisector, that of GD, comes through here, perpendicular, and it bisects GD. So that's why you see these three tick marks here, saying that this distance is the same as this one. Now, where the three perpendicular bisectors meet, that's a special point, and that point is called the circumcenter. So you'll hear that term and you'll see it here. Circumcenter is C. I hope you can see that. Now, there's something special about the circumcenter. The distance from the circumcenter to each of the three vertices, vertex O, vertex G, and vertex D, is the same. Therefore, CO is going to be equal to CG, going to be equal to CD. Therefore, since CG is 9, then CD must be 9 and CO must also be 9. Okay? I'm sure we're going to be required to find one of them coming up. So let's take a look at what we've got. OG, the distance from O to G, this distance right here, it's got to be 7 plus 7, because this is a bisector. It bisects OG, so that this distance is the same as this. So this will be 14. How about CD? Distance from C to D, we just talked about it. It's the same as this distance, which is 9. So CD is 9. And I didn't ask you, but if I ask you CO, you'll also say what? 9. Finally, I ask you RD. And RD is going to be the same as RO. Why? Because R is a midpoint. It's being a perpendicular bisector. So RD is 6. Alright? So here's some that I did not ask you. I could have asked you OD. And if I did, you'd say, oh, OD is just 6 plus 6. Because again, perpendicular bisectors go through the midpoint of the segment bisected. What else did I not ask you? Did I ask you GO? Yes, I did. But if I'd ask you the distance from G to, let's say this is point X here. If I ask you GX, you'd say, oh, it's going to be the same as XD. So if XD is 7, then GX must be 7. Okay? But that's a little bit more on the circumcenter. Let's take something else. How about the mid-segment? The mid-segment of a triangle, say this with me, the mid-segment of a triangle is actually a segment joining the midpoints of two sides of the triangle. So M would be a midpoint, and E would be a midpoint. Whenever you're a mid-segment, you just know that this is a midpoint. That means this is the same as this. This being a midpoint means that AM, length AM, is the same as length MT, because this is a mid-segment. In addition, the mid-segment is always going to be a half of the third side. So this right here should be R. Sorry about that. So ME is going to be a half of RT. So here comes the setup for this one. It says if ME, That should be segment ME is a mid-segment. And ME is 2x plus 5. So this is 2x plus 5. That's the length as an algebraic expression. Find R, and RT is 5x. 5x. I want us to find the distance from A to R. It should be R to T. R to T. So let's see how we can set that up. Here's what I told you. I told you that the mid-segment is a half of this third side. Therefore, if I double this mid-segment, I'm going to get the third side. Alright? Again, if I double this, I'm going to get the third side. So here's the setup. 2 times 2x plus 5. Going to be equal to the third side, which is 5x. That's just set up, and then you work it out for x. 2 times everything in here would be 4x plus 10. Since the bigger variable is on the right, I'm going to subtract the 4x from both sides. So I have 10 equals x. And to find the distance from R to T, which is what is required, I'm going to say RT is 5 times whatever x is. So this is going to be equal to 5x, or 5 times whatever x is, and x is 10. So RT would be 50. Or as some would say, 50. Alright? So that's a little bit extra help there. I trust this will be helpful. And I want to encourage you to know your verse, of course, first and foremost. A verse which tells how multiplication and addition relates to life. That is, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the Holy One is understanding. For by me your days will be multiplied, and years of life will be added to you. I think that's a good deal. God bless you.